Phill Ivey, the poker legend, and his partner in crime, Cheung Yin Sun, took the casino world by storm, walking away with a staggering $16 million. And they did it cheating. In this video, we dive into how the Borgata casino in Atlantic City faced off against a Vegas high roller in a courtroom battle for the ages. It all comes down to a single mistake that unraveled their entire scheme. Why Cheung Yin Sun needed Phill Ivey. Sun, known as the queen of edge sorting, was the mastermind behind the flawless card reading technique that left casinos scrambling. But even with her insane skills, she needed a partner like Phill Ivey, arguably the most feared poker player in the world, to pull off this multi-million-dollar heist. Why? Because while Sun had the knowledge, Ivey had the clout. Let's face it, Sun couldn't just waltz into the high-stakes games and make demands without raising red flags. Casinos don't bend over backward for just anyone. But Phill Ivey? He's a poker legend, a VIP, who casinos want at their tables. Ivey had the star power to make special requests all under the guise of superstition and personal preference. Casinos would have never granted those conditions to a regular player, but for Ivey, who regularly played for millions, they rolled out the red carpet. Sun also needed Ivey's bankroll. We're talking massive stakes, millions on the line. Sun's edge sorting skills were potent, but without Ivey's huge bets, the potential to rake in those millions simply wouldn't exist. Ivey brought the muscle to make the casino bleed big. But perhaps the biggest reason Sun needed Ivey was for cover. With Ivey's poker reputation as a big bet player, no one at Borgata thought twice about the requests he made. They figured they were dealing with a high roller, not someone exploiting flaws in the game. Sun stayed in the background, letting Ivey's fame distract everyone from the real trick happening right under their noses. Together, they were the ultimate tag team. Sun with her razor-sharp skills, Ivey with his high roller status. And that's what made this scheme unbeatable. Ivey's 4 special requests. The Borgata Casino in Atlantic City was the biggest victim of Ivey and Sun's epic and controversial heist, all due to 4 seemingly harmless requests made by Phill Ivey. These requests were so simple, so casual, yet so critical to pulling off one of the most infamous scams in casino history. At first glance, they seem like the typical demands of a high roller accustomed to special treatment. Borgata, eager to cater to a poker superstar like Ivey, didn't hesitate to accommodate him. After all, it's not uncommon for elite players to have particular preferences when it comes to the environment in which they play. But behind the seemingly innocent request was a carefully calculated plan, one that would allow Ivey and Sun to exploit a hidden flaw in the game and walk away with millions. Number 1. The Shuffler. A key to the whole plan. First, Phill Ivey made an innocent-sounding request. He wanted the cards to be shuffled using an automatic shuffler. Why would this matter? Simple. An automatic shuffler, unlike a hand shuffle, does not flip the cards. If the cards stayed in the exact same orientation as they were dealt, Ivey and Sun could take advantage of tiny imperfections on the backs of the cards. This edge sorting technique allows them to determine what cards were being dealt without actually seeing the faces. Think about the brilliance here. An automatic shuffler is designed to speed up the game and make things fairer, right? But to Ivey and Sun, it was the perfect weapon to keep those crucial card edges lined up, all without the casino suspecting a thing. The casino staff never questioned the request. After all, who wouldn't prefer a smoother, faster game? Number 2. The decks. No regular cards allowed. Next, Ivey requested a specific type of playing cards, Gemmaco cards to be exact. Why? Because these decks had a tiny design flaw that only a professional card manipulator like Sun could spot. The backs of the cards weren't uniform. The patterns were ever so slightly asymmetrical. While most players wouldn't even notice this, Sun was an absolute pro at edge sorting, a technique that uses these small flaws to figure out whether a card is high or low. By requesting these particular decks, Ivey and Sun set the stage for a high-stakes game where they could exploit the casino without breaking a sweat. And the casino? They thought nothing of it. It wasn't like Ivey was asking for something unusual. Jimico was a reputable card brand, but in the hands of this deadly duo, they were about to become a $16 million gold mine. Number 3. The dealer speaks Mandarin Chinese. Ivey's third request was even more specific. He wanted a dealer who could speak Mandarin Chinese. This may have seemed like a quirky personal preference, but the reality was far more sinister. Sun, who was doing all the edge sorting, communicated directly with Ivey in Mandarin during the game. While this kept their strategy under wraps from the English-speaking staff, it also made the casino feel like they were catering to a VIP. But here's the kicker. Because the casino granted the seemingly innocent request, Sun can give Ivey critical information about the orientation of the cards in real time. The casino staff, oblivious to the secret code being spoken right under their noses, had no idea they were being hustled. Number 4. The card dealer can change the card order. The final stroke of genius in Ivey's request was a move that no one thought twice about. He asked that the dealer turn the high-value cards to the deck 180 degrees. This was the master stroke that completed the scheme. You see, when the high cards were flipped, Ivey and Sun could easily distinguish them from the low cards by the imperfections on the back. Because the automatic shuffler kept the cards in the same orientation, those high cards stayed turned around, and Ivey could see exactly when they were about to come. This wasn't just playing poker, this was playing the entire casino industry, exploiting their trust and rules without breaking a single one of them. The dealer, following Ivey's VIP treatment requests, happily obliged without realizing they were aiding a multi-million-dollar heist. It was these 4 simple requests that led to one of the most notorious cases of cheating in casino history. Ivey never touched the cards. He never broke a rule. Yet, by the time he and Sun were done, Borgata was out $9.6 million, and another casino in London was out even more. Do you think that Phill, Ivey, and Sun are cheaters, or outsmarted the casinos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. How Phill and Sun got caught. Phill, Ivey, and Sun's $16 million edge sorting scheme was so well executed that it seems flawless. But even the best laid plans eventually unravel. Their downfall came when the casinos, particularly Borgata in Atlantic City, started connecting the dots after reviewing the game footage and noticing some highly unusual patterns in the results. What really tipped off Borgata was the string of winning sessions Ivey and Sun had during baccarat, a game where the house typically holds a strong advantage. Over the course of 4 visits, Ivey and Sun consistently racked up massive wins, triggering alarm bells. Curious about how this was possible, the casino took a closer look at their gameplay, eventually discovering the method behind the madness: edge sorting. The investigation began when Borgata reviewed the game footage and saw how meticulously Ivey's requests were being followed. Requests that at first glance seemed like harmless preferences. However, Borgata's security team noticed the precision when Sun directed the dealer to rotate certain cards. Pair this with Ivey's insistence on specific decks in an automatic shuffler, and the picture started becoming clearer. Over time, it became obvious that these requests weren't coincidental, they were key components of the scheme. The final nail in the coffin came when Borgata scrutinized the cards themselves. They realized the specific decks in question had subtle manufacturing defects on their backs that were only visible when rotated in a certain way. Armed with this evidence, the casino pieced together how Ivey and Sun had systematically manipulated the game. Although edge sorting wasn't considered a traditional form of cheating, it was clear that their actions violated the casino's standard gaming rules. The legal battle and outcome. The legal battle that followed Phill, Ivey, and Sun's edge sorting scheme against Borgata Casino was one of the most high-profile cases in the history of gambling. After walking away with a staggering $9.6 million from the Borgata in Atlantic City, the casino wasn't just going to let it slide. What began as a couple of lucky nights at the baccarat tables quickly turned into a heated courtroom showdown, putting one of poker's biggest stars against a billion-dollar casino empire. In April 2014, Borgata filed a lawsuit against Phill, Ivey, and Sun, accusing them of cheating and fraud. The casino claimed that their edge sorting technique constituted illegal behavior, even though Ivey never physically tampered with the cards or interfered with the dealer. Borgata argued that Ivey manipulated the game by convincing them to accept certain conditions that allowed him to exploit the card's imperfections, thereby violating the integrity of the game. Ivey, on the other hand, maintained that he didn't cheat. His defense was simple. He never touched the cards or broke any casino rules. Instead, he said he merely used his understanding of the card's flaws and the game's setup to gain an advantage. To him, it was no different than counting cards in blackjack, a technique that, while frowned upon by casinos, isn't illegal. After a long and drawn-out legal battle, in 2016, the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey ruled in favor of Borgata. The judge, Noel Hillman, concluded that while Ivey and Sun hadn't physically cheated, they had violated the terms of their contract with Borgata by using a strategy that fundamentally changed the nature of the game. According to the ruling, even though Ivey didn't technically break any rules, his actions went against the spirit of fair play and the implied contract between the player and the casino. The court ordered Ivey to repay Borgata $10.1 million, which included the $9.6 million he won at the baccarat tables, plus an additional $504,000 that Ivey had won playing craps with his baccarat winnings. Borgata argued that even the craps winnings were tainted because they were made with the money from the edge sorting scheme. Ivey wasn't going to back down without a fight. He appealed the decision, hoping that a higher court would see things differently. In his appeal, Ivey's legal team argued that he hadn't engaged in any form of deception and that edge sorting wasn't explicitly against the rules of baccarat. Furthermore, they claimed that Borgata should have been aware of the possibility of edge sorting, and it's a known technique, and that the casino failed to protect itself from the potential exploitation. Despite these arguments, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the original ruling in 2018, agreeing that Ivey's actions violated the terms of his agreement with Borgata. The court wasn't swayed by the defense's argument that edge sorting wasn't technically cheating. As a result, Ivey was still on the hook for the $10.1 million repayment. The Borgata case wasn't the only legal battle Ivey faced over his edge sorting technique. Around the same time, he had a similar dispute with Crockford's, a London casino where he and Sun won £7.7 million using the same method. Crockford's, however, refused to pay out the winnings, leading to yet another legal case. In 2017, the UK Supreme Court ruled against Ivey, concluding that his actions were a form of cheating under UK law, even though he didn't physically interfere with the cards. The court's decision mirrored the Borgata case, with the ruling based on the idea that Ivey's actions went against the spirit of fair play in the game. The fallout for Phill. The fallout from Phill Ivey's infamous edge sorting scandal had significant repercussions for his career and reputation, leaving a lasting mark on the poker world. Despite being one of the greatest poker players of all time, the legal battles with Borgata in Atlantic City and Crockford's in London have damaged his once pristine image and created financial and professional challenges that continue to follow him. Before the scandal, Ivey was considered one of the cleanest, most respected players in poker. His prowess at the table was legendary, earning him the nickname the Tiger Woods of poker. However, after the court rulings declared that Ivey's actions in the edge sorting scandal violated the spirit of fair play, his reputation took a significant hit. Although he maintains that he never cheated in the traditional sense, courts in both the US and UK ruled that his exploitation of the card flaws went against the integrity of the game. The financial repercussions were severe. Ivey was ordered to repay Borgata over $10 million. Borgata even pursued Ivey's assets, freezing his funds in Las Vegas casinos to recover the amount owed. Meanwhile, Crockford's in London had already refused to pay out Ivey's £7.7 million winnings, leaving him with a massive financial loss from both cases. The scandal also strained Ivey's relationship with casinos. While he remains a high-stakes poker player, his ability to negotiate exclusive privileges like special conditions at the table or requests for specific dealers and decks has likely been impacted. Casinos are now more wary of granting unusual requests, even from high-profile players like Ivey, for fear of being exploited in similar ways. We sure hope that Phill Ivey continues to play world-class poker and continues to be one of the best in the world. Thanks for watching. To stay up to date with the latest poker controversies, biggest fails, and explosive fights, Be sure to like and subscribe.